Welcome to a new life in France, and we've got a special for you today. We're going to be talking about skiing in France. Let's just give you a little bit of an overview about skiing in France, and then also where will you move to if you were looking to move into a ski resort in the area. But let's understand a little bit more about skiing in France. So when you look at France, there are probably sort of 4 or 5 key areas that you would look to go skiing in France. And the history behind skiing in France and the history of resorts and everything else is very much really in 1924, so 100 years ago. It was really the birth of skiing in France in terms of it being something special. And the real reason for that in 1924, that was the first ever Winter Olympic Games. So the first ever Olympic Winter Games. And you have to remember that the modern day Olympics were founded by Baron de Coubertin, who founded those. And of course, the Winter and Summer Olympics, France was always going to be fairly key in that, the starting points. So 1924 in Chamonix, and that is a very famous ski resort here in France, is where the first ever Winter Olympics were. And that's where this all starts. So, you know, it's quite poignant. Here we are in 2024, just coming to the end of it as well. And when you look at the skiing areas within France, you've got the Northern Alps, you've got the Southern Alps, and that the Alps area for you, it's very much that French side heading towards that Swiss border. And that's what it's really, really famous for, the northern part and the southern part. We'll look at those in a little bit more detail in a moment. Then you can go across down to the Pyrenees on the Spanish border. You can also then come inland a little bit. You can come into the sort of central part of France, the northern part of the Massif Central to the Mont d'Or area as well. And you can even go skiing in Corsica as well. So you've got those 4 key areas for skiing in France. And as I said, the Alps really is the most famous one, and that's where you have the most people go to. The Northern Alps, probably the Alps that people know about with Chamonix, and also the famous 3 valleys. That area there is really where the bulk of people will go skiing. They will also then go to the Southern Alps as well. And you can actually go from the Southern Alps, not far from Grenoble, and you can go down to the Mediterranean. And in the springtime, you can even be skiing on the slopes in the morning, and you can be swimming in the Med in the afternoon. Yeah, that's a really nice romantic way of looking at it. But you have that ability, and there are 254 resorts in the Northern and Southern Alps. I mean, that is a big number of people. You can also then move across to the Pyrenees, and when you look in the Pyrenees, if you sort of had a bit of a central point in the Pyrenees and then you went either side of that, are where the 2 main areas for skiing are in France, in the Pyrenees. And again, that's bordering Spain as well. And also a lot of people will have heard of Andorra. Andorra is great for skiing as well, and that's right on that Spanish-French border, that little conclave there of Andorra. And you've got great skiing in that area as well. You've probably only got 33 resorts though in that particular part. I did mention about Mont d'Or in the Massif Central. It's not huge in any way, shape or form, but it has skiing there, and it's a little bit of a hidden gem as well. And it's probably one of those quite nice ones you can get to in a day, do a bit of skiing, come back out again as well in terms of that. And then in Corsica as well, you know, they've got 3 areas in Corsica that you can go skiing as well. If you're looking in terms of skiing and buying a house and everything that goes with that, the things that you will remember and the things that you need to think about is if you want to buy a property in the Alps, particularly in the Southern or the Northern Alps, it is going to cost money. It just is. You can't get away from that. The cost of skiing and the tourism and everything that goes with it, it will lead to house prices and chalet prices in that area being inflated. It just is. It's supply and demand. So you won't find that many people, unless they're looking to buy a chalet and run it as some kind of business, or they're looking for a second home and they have disposable income of a big number, they will probably buy something in that area. Some people will buy apartments, some people will also do maybe a timeshare of apartments. But if people are really looking to move to France and skiing is the big driver, they might well buy a business in that area that's going to be letting out properties or apartments or things like that. But what you traditionally find in most places is that people will probably look to move, say, within half an hour of a resort. That is not uncommon, so they can get in. You have to remember in France, because skiing is such a big thing. It really is big, and the boost to the tourism in terms of how much money is spent, you know, we're talking in the region of about 9 to 10 billion a year in terms of what that income comes in. So the infrastructures around the main resource are really, really good. So you can get in and you can ski. So you can get your ski passes, and a lot of the time that will include a bus pass as well. You can park near the bottom areas, you can get up to the resorts, you can ski for the day, come back down. Everything is really geared up for that. And when we look at those people who are skiing, it's lovely that particularly you say as a Brit or another European, maybe you say in Holland or Belgium, or you're coming in from the States or somewhere. If you're coming in, actually the foreign skiers is only a very small percentage. The skiers in France, 70% of people skiing across the year are French. So 70% are French. 9% are British, and then everything else is after that. So when you look in those numbers, it is the French who are skiing. They love their skiing. It is one of those big things. And when you look at the resorts in the northern and southern in particular, 7 of the top 10 interconnected ski areas in France are in that top 10 in the world. So 7 out of 10 are in France because they've invested so much in it and they've really fallen in love with it, and it is just a great thing. So it is there, and it's there to be enjoyed. So for me, if you're looking to enjoy the skiing and you want to be there, then look half an hour away, and you will still have a great infrastructure to be able to drive, park, bus it, get on the slopes and really enjoy it. And you'll find that's what a lot of French will do as well. If you're out of area, then French will do as everybody else does. They will be a domestic tourist, and they will come and they will stay and they will be in an apartment and they will ski and they do everything that everybody else does. But if you're looking at it from a moving to France perspective, really start to think about that, but also then start to think about the costs. Start to think about the ski passes and everything that goes along with that. So for me, if I was looking and I was really into my skiing and I wanted to move somewhere, would I move somewhere closer to the area of the southern or the northern area? Now, people who like towns, a lot of people will head to Grenoble. They will, and they will love living in Grenoble because it gives them so many different things. But you will find a lot of people will move to Grenoble, house, but more likely an apartment, and they will be able to enjoy France, but also be able to enjoy the skiing, because from Grenoble there are so many great connections. But also then, if you want much more value for money, then you're likely to move maybe to the foothills of the Pyrenees. Now, you might be in the Haute Pyrenees, which is on the Mediterranean side, or you will be to the Pyrenees Atlantique, which again is on the Atlantic side. So you might be looking at those two areas to be able to coming into. Places like Tarbes as well in the area of the foothills of the Pyrenees. Again, people in that kind of area will be there as well, and you can really get up into there. So for me, if you're looking for value for money, then the Pyrenees probably does offer you that kind of thing. But that whole south and southwest of France, anywhere within there, you're going to find skiing. I spoke about Mont d'Or as an area as well, very close to Clermont-Ferrand. That again is great. If you just want to go and enjoy some skiing in the day, it is there. And you can find good property in that area, particularly within half an hour of Mont d'Or. You will find great areas to move, say in the Cantal or the Auvergne itself as well. So they are there to be able to enjoy if you want a little taste of skiing. You just want to go and do it and just want to enjoy it as well. But it isn't one of the big resorts in any way, shape or form. And of course, you could look at Corsica as well. But the majority of people looking to move to France, say from the UK or the US, they will probably be coming into mainland France for most of their things. So I really like the idea of skiing, but it's being able to be close to it. So from my own personal perspective, and 2 young children and a family, we will be doing some skiing. And for us, Mont d'Or is probably a couple of hours away. So we could get up at 6 in the morning, we could get on the slopes, have a lovely day with the kids and come back, or we could actually go and stay for 2 or 3 days. And we could do that quite easily. Now, other people, if you go further south, maybe you're heading down into Provence or those areas, of course, that is great to be able to get the skiing. You're probably an hour away from the resorts and you can get in, do some great skiing and be able to enjoy it. So skiing in France is a huge thing, and it is geared up so well for it. But also when you think about the properties that you've got, what could you live in? What could you do? Could you run a gîte business, which gives you some access to the ski resorts in the winter? But don't forget, the mountains are there all year round. And particularly today in France, a lot of the resorts in the past would go really sleepy, really quiet in the summer. Skiing is over. But today there are so many sports, in a lot of ways there's sort of 80 different activities you can do in the mountains in the summer. Now you can also do tobogganing in the summer, and it's not the tobogganing on snow, it's on these great metal runs that go through, and you can really have an exhilarating time. You can do bungee jumping, you can do kayaking, you can do hiking, you can do yoga retreats. There is so much that you can do in the summer, and you can enjoy breathtaking views. You can get up into the mountains, you can see everything that's got there and the gorgeous views and just thoroughly enjoy it. So for me, skiing, of course, this time of year is the big thing. We're at the beginning of December now. Most of the resorts are now opening. A lot of them will be open now for Christmas and New Year. The key times for skiing is February and March, and also January as well. So that January, February, March time is there. But for a lot of people, it is February and March. You get the tourism late December, early January, and then you're really into it in that February and March time. You can sometimes just squeeze into April as well. But look at those key areas, and the French just love their skiing. But this skiing and everything else about the mountain areas is not just about the winter. When you get into those wonderful summers as well, you can enjoy the mountains, the mountain air, and everything that goes with it. So if you're looking to move to France and you like skiing, or you fancy doing skiing, or you want to have a business that might have something to do with it, just always look. Top end, it's going to cost you a lot of money. It just is. That's a fact. If you're looking to still be able to enjoy it because you're an enthusiastic skier, you can look to be within an hour or so of that, and there's still great communication links to get there. Even if you don't have a car, a lot of the time trains and buses work really well in those winter seasons, particularly in those two key areas of the northern or southern Alps that are there. So think about that, enjoy it, and skiing is a great time. And again, we're approaching Christmas now, which is amazing. And you will have enjoyed last week. Again, we did the Christmas, what is Christmas like in France and everything. And thank you so much for that great response for that. We're trying to give you different things all the time just to help you whet the appetite of looking to move to France. We're going to be bringing you that visa special in January. We're going to give you a little teaser next week on visas to help you understand visas, because it's great talking about properties and places, but if you can't get your visa sorted, you're not going to make that move. Really hope you've enjoyed this today. Go and have a little look. Get your appetite there for skiing, enjoy it, and think more about what France has to offer in terms of skiing and the mountains, the winter and the summer.